Most people have this false belief that cats are aloof creatures and do not share any kind of emotional attachment with their owners. The truth is that cats are highly emotional and sensitive. Today, Animals My Love will tell you a touching story. I run a cat rescue group. We have taken in cats whose owners have died. Some were administered to the shelter by the extended family who didn't want to continue to care for the deceased relative's cat for whatever reason. Others have come to us directly from family members seeking to avoid further trauma to the cat by surrendering them to the shelter environment, which can be very scary and traumatic for cats over the age of 4 months old. So traumatic, in fact, that most older cats, even if they haven't been surrendered there due to the death of their owner, develop what we call KPTSD, Kitty Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Much of the work we do with cats post-rescue from the shelter is rehabilitation, both physical as well as emotional and behavioral. Older cats who have developed a deep bond and established routine with the person who later dies and leaves them behind absolutely do grieve the loss of that person. Most will eventually bounce back provided they find themselves in a new secure, loving and caring environment where they can regroup, de-stress and develop new bonds with new people. It can, however, take time, anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. Every cat is different. However, we've also had cases where when the person dies, the cats give up their own will to live. Siggy was a large 10-year-old female kitty who had been adopted by her owner when she was a kitten. Her owner died and the family decided they didn't want to continue to care for her, so they surrendered her to the shelter. Shelter staff described her as a big girl, and she was. At the time we rescued her, she weighed about 18 pounds. As is common in the shelter environment, contagion is rampant and Siggy developed an upper respiratory infection prior to her rescue, so that on the day she was rescued, I called my vet and told her I'd be bringing her in as soon as our transporter delivered her to me so they could prescribe her antibiotics and administer fluids. However, when our transporter arrived, it was clear to me she was so snotty and sickly that it would be a good idea to have her admitted for a few days for observation. While there, they couldn't get her to eat. She flat out refused food. Initially, we speculated this was because her kitty cold was causing her to be so congested that she wasn't able to smell the food and probably felt pretty crappy and wasn't interested in eating. But after a week in veterinary care and a significant improvement in her health thanks to the antibiotics and fluids she'd been receiving daily, she still continued to refuse to eat. Appetite stimulants were administered, different kinds of foods were tried, still Siggy refused food. So veterinary staff began syringe feeding her, and she fought them. Gradually, she began to lose weight. She dropped from 18 pounds to 15, then 12, then 10. We decided drastic measures needed to be taken because without nutrients, her organs would begin to shut down. Siggy had a tube surgically inserted into her neck so that pureed food could be syringed into the tube directly into her esophagus. After a week and a half of this method of tube feeding and attempts daily to put food directly in front of her to see if she would eat, we decided to remove the tube when she began to eat ever so slightly on her own. Unfortunately, once the tube was removed, she continued her hunger strike and nothing could entice her to eat. She was also severely depressed. She sat in her kennel with her face turned to the wall. She showed no interest in interacting with me, with staff, with the doctors, and she continued to lose weight. After a month and close to $3,000 in veterinary expenses in the effort to save her life, her organs did begin to shut down. The day I had to make the difficult choice to agree to euthanize her was tough. She looked nothing like the cat I'd brought them a month earlier. She was skin and bones and just a shell of her former self. At least when we rescued her, there was a little light in her eyes. Not anymore. She had checked out. and it broke my heart to hold her while they administered the medication that would sedate her and then mercifully end her life. Because at that point, euthanizing her was the most loving and merciful thing we could do for her to prevent further suffering and a painful passing, organ shutdown. I believe Siggy lost the will to live and wanted to die when her owner died. Life without them wasn't something she wanted to face, and nothing we could do could give her the will to go on. And that's one of the saddest and most difficult experiences I've had in rescue. When you save a kitty from being youth at the shelter and still try as you might, still can't save them because they've decided they don't want to be saved. Siggy wasn't our only case like this, but she was the most extreme. Most cats do eventually bounce back, although they do so tentatively and are much more cautious with people, less willing to form new bonds, far less trusting, can be anxious, can exhibit behavioral issues, and can very much go through periods of depression and withdrawal from interaction and activity. Cats are very routine-oriented animals and get attached to people, places, and things. It is very difficult for cats to adapt to any big change in their lifestyle. They can feel persistent absence of their owner and react with behavioral changes like loss of appetite, loss of interest in toys, excessive sleeping, etc. Grieving cats can often simply don't seem to like themselves. When a cat is unable to find its beloved owner, even after hours of continuous searching, it tends to feel confused, stressed, and disoriented. It may also suffer from anxiety or depression. There have been observed many cases where a cat continues mourning for weeks the death of their feline or human friend. It has also been known for cats to wait at the window or sit on a gate post, waiting for the absent party to return. It can be heartbreaking to watch your pet cat grieving the loss of a friend. To help your cat, spend as much time as possible with it. Don't let the cute kitty feel neglected or lonely. Playing, cuddling, or just being there with the cat can help it bounce back from depression. Just like a human child, the cat needs extra love and attention in this phase. Animals, my love, would like everyone to care for your pets more and to let them feel loved. If this story touched your feelings, please share it and thumbs up. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and see you later.